Can we all just agree that 50mm is the best focal length? Okay, probably not, but it is certainly my favorite focal length. I just feel like it's a really great, versatile starting place for pretty much any type of photography. You can capture landscapes with 50mm, you can capture portraits with 50mm. It's said that 50mm is the closest focal length to what we experience as humans in our field of vision, so it is reminiscent of the human eye, what we see. I don't know if that matters. Does it matter? Hey everybody, my name is Zach. I'm a photographer and videographer based in Santa Barbara, California. And today we're talking specifically about the EF 50mm 1.2 versus the RF 50mm 1.8. If you're familiar with the channel, you'll know that the Canon EF 50mm 1.2 was my first professional lens, and it's my favorite lens of all time. It just has this ability to turn reality into a dream. It makes everything look magical and buttery and beautiful. That lens is really special, and I think a big part of it has to do with the 50mm focal length. There's a certain type of distortion, there's a little bit of compression. The out of focus area is really beautiful. That lens particularly renders beautiful color and beautiful lens flare. It's just gorgeous. So as I've been exploring and investing in the RF lenses from Canon, I've been really curious about the nifty 50 RF version. This is a little 50mm lens that costs about 200 bucks, has a 1.8 aperture, and is native to the RF system. I rented the lens several weeks ago and scheduled a couple of portrait shoots to test it out, and I have to say that I was blown away by the quality of this little lens. What I found is that this little 50mm lens is a really intriguing proposition for new photographers, for photographers who are investing in professional equipment for the first time, or even for photographers like me who have quite a bit of gear already, but might need a cheap backup lens or just a lighter version of my favorite focal length to take with me on trips. So I really wanted to compare the RF 50mm 1.8 with the EF 50mm 1.2. What are the differences between these lenses? And if you're getting into the RF system, do you really need to invest in the EF version, or would the RF version be just fine? How do these two measure up? So as I mentioned, the RF lenses are really impressive, and there are a couple things that are consistent, at least in my experience, and that is in terms of sharpness and autofocus performance. The 50mm RF 1.8 checks both of these boxes. It's extremely sharp and really great when it comes to autofocus. I would even dare to say that the RF 1.8 is sharper and more accurate when it comes to autofocus than the EF 50mm 1.2. Blasphemy, oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh God, what did I say? If this is surprising to you, it really shouldn't be, because the RF lenses are new, right? They're more modern lenses. Canon has improved the optics. So the lenses come with newer technology, there are improvements, right? What are the differences between these two lenses? The nifty 50 is cheaper than the EF 1.2. It feels less premium in its build quality. It's not weather sealed, and it's not as bright. It only stops to 1.8, not 1.2. When compared to the EF lens, the RF lens trends a little bit more magenta in the images that it creates. I've also noticed this with the 35mm RF 1.8 lens. For some reason, the glass trends towards magenta, so my images from those lenses look a little bit more pink than other lenses. Now, interesting, I didn't notice this on any of the higher end RF glass. So it seems like these cheaper entry-level lenses from Canon, the RF versions, while they have a lot of good things about them, they do have a quality that makes the images trend more magenta, which is correctable in Lightroom. So it's not a huge issue for me, but that is something to just be aware of. So what's so special about the EF version? Well, the EF version is weather sealed. It has a heft to it. It feels really solid, but it's not unwieldy. It's actually quite a nice fit on a camera. It feels good. The EF version is 6 times the price of the RF 1.8, so there's that. But some of the obvious differences are the out of focus area that can be produced by these lenses. Across the board, the EF 1.2 is just smoother in its rendering than the RF, although the RF does produce really beautiful out of focus area, and you probably wouldn't know the difference unless you were comparing the two side by side. The EF version also has an incredible lens flare. It's like nothing I've seen on any lens that I've ever used. But all this being said, both lenses are capable of creating professional images. And honestly, when I was in Lightroom comparing the images from both of these lenses, it was difficult to tell the difference. I don't really have much else to say. I think I can sum it up by saying that the EF 1.2 is a more artistic lens. It is a more creative lens. It is a little bit more magical than the RF 1.8. The RF 1.8 is lighter and more portable and cheaper, and it feels a little bit more clinical, but it has great optical performance. But does the extra artistic value of the EF version justify the expense over the RF version? I mean, the RF version has a lot to offer with its updated technology, its lower price tag, and its smaller build. So maybe you're trying to decide between the EF version and the RF version. We're not even putting the RF 50mm 1.2 in the running here. We're assuming that you're not interested in that lens. So we're deciding between the older EF 1.2 or the new RF 1.8. Which one? I think it really comes down to your preference. If I were just starting out and didn't already own the EF 1.2, I don't know if it would be worth it to get into that lens. I think the RF lens would be just fine for me. I'm just not sure if the EF is the best investment as we move forward into a world of mirrorless glass, despite my history with that lens and my love for that lens. So let me know what you think. I'm really curious here if you agree with my findings of these lenses. Let me know what you think about the example images. I'll leave a folder with a gallery so you can see them in detail. I'll put a couple of raw files in there. Have a look and let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. That really helps me out. If you're new, consider subscribing to the channel. I'd love to see you at the next video. Thank you as always for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.